Excuse me, should have cleared my throat before I started. Okay, so next up we're going to work on what are called gradient maps. Okay, so let's grab this first image and let's look at kind of more or less what a gradient map is, does, and how we use it. Okay, so what a gradient map is and does, it effectively allows us to identify the parts of the image and then change their colors. And when I say parts of the image, I mean more in terms of the histogram. So we can look at highs, mids, and lows, and then replace those colors with something more solid. Okay. So gradient maps are one of those things that people do with color grading, where they're going to change the overall mood of their image with a particular color. Okay. So how do we get to gradient maps? Well, there's always with Photoshop, there's 5 ways to do anything. Number 1, we can click the gradient map adjustment layer here. Number 2, we can click the black and white cookie and go to gradient map. Number 3, we can go to image adjustments, gradient map. It's on there. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So I'm just going to do this here, and here we go. So what this is saying and how to read the gradient here is your darks are on the left, your brights are on the right. And then midtones obviously are in the middle. Okay, so what does this mean? How do we work it? Well, so what this image, as we look at it, it looks like we've kind of got a negative reversal here. And in fact, we do. What is going on is over here on the left where our darks are, it is saying, hey, we're going to replace our darks with white. And grays will still be gray. But on the right, we are going to replace our lights with dark. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay? So we also have this handy reverse button, so we can see that now we have our darks being replaced with black, and our lights being replaced with white, and our mids being replaced with sort of a 50% gray. Okay? So kind of a general rule of thumb, when you're trying to make your gradients, your gradient maps and your color grading look sort of more natural and realistic, you want your darker color to be on the left and your lighter color to be on the right. Now, to color, we're going to just click on this gradient here, or you can click the drop down there, and it will bring up this. You can also click it here, and yeah, it's effectively the same thing. Okay. So what this is going to allow us to do is replace these values with a color now. So if you open up these drop downs, you can get all these fun colors to choose from, some of which are more useful than others. Right, obviously, this doesn't really help us a whole bunch, right? When you're doing color grading, you want to kind of match maybe what's already there. So, for example, this was a really blue/white image. So I'm going to look for kind of blues and whites in order to kind of accentuate these values a whole bunch. And my brain has stopped working. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start here with this. How about this one? Okay. And then I'm going to click on this, and this brings up the gradient editor. Okay. Now what this is doing is allowing me to say exactly what I kind of want to have happen. Okay. So if I wanted to change my color, I would just click on the bucket here and then click on the color here. And then I could add in, some different color here. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm now looking at like the backside, the underside of hair here on the back of the neck. And I'm trying to get this so that it doesn't really look like, how do I say this? Like a blown out or an undercooked type of edit. Okay, so I want to go light, but I don't want to go white. But I kind of also want to match the colors here, so I'm going to stop goofing around and just kind of pick one. That one was actually pretty good. We'll start there. Okay, whatever. It's all good. Okay, so then once I have my sort of values here, and what I'm trying to do is overall make a change of really the sky. Right? I'm trying to give that a more uniform type of sky. So I'm going to click OK there. Okay. Now, you can just simply lower your opacity, and that will kind of bring back the tones. But the biggest thing with color grading is that you tend to lose skin tone. And that's one of the things that you want to preserve most of the time. I find that floating between 25 and 50% opacity is kind of the way to go. So I'm going to start at like 20, okay, and just to see on and off. It's a subtle change, right? But it works, okay. Okay, so I'm going to bump it up to 35. Yeah, sure. Okay, so next up, we need to preserve our skin tone. Okay, so this is where it gets kind of tricky, and in using this image in class, I realize it's maybe not the best one, but we have a better one to come. So I'm going to double click on this, and then I'm going to go to my blending options here. And what we're going to do is sneeze. Hang on. That time of year. Okay, so we're going to blend this. And we're going to blend it with either this layer or the underlying layer. So when you double click on your layer and it brings up layer style, by default it goes to blending options. And we want to look down here where it says blend if, okay? So this is saying if it's gray, we're going to blend that out in the lights. We're going to blend grays out in the lights, okay? But since skin tone is not gray usually, unless you're very sick, we are going to find reds is where our skin tones live, right? Skins are kind of yellow and orange, but we don't really have yellow and orange. We have red in our color palette, so that's what we get to work with. So I hate that Photoshop does this, but there's actually 4 sliders. But to get to them, we have to hold Alt or Option and click on that slider, and then it splits that little spade in half. Okay, so Alt or Option, and then we can split that in half. So what we're going to do with this is, see if we walk it back that way, you can see how we sort of regain all those things, right? But we just want the skin texture to go away. But by using both of those, no good. So we're going to split it in half, and then we can just sort of get to that stage, right? Very nice, okay? So click OK. Here's our before and after. Subtle change, but we get to preserve our skin tone, which is the goal. Okay, let's grab this second image, which is not in my recents. It is the Gradient Maps 2, and let us go. Okay, so for this image, got this just terrific jumpsuit here, and then also these colors. Now, if I'm trying to match color here and here, and then sort of give this an overall sort of a, you know, green, blue, cyan, teal, turquoise, whatever sort of shade of blue-green this is, we can do that. And then we're going to do the same thing to preserve our skin tone, okay? So I'm going to just add a gradient layer here. I'm going to come up to my gradient editor. I'm going to find greens. And I'm going to find one that has sort of the same types of colors here, which probably is there. Probably is there. Yeah. So just going to click OK. I'm going to start by lowering my opacity to, I think, probably mid 40%. Double click on my layer style. Use my underlying layer to edit my, we could say, we want reds again because we want the skin tone here. And then we're going to hold Option to split that, and then we're just going to walk it back until we regain all those skin tones back. And there we go. We've graded our image really quickly and easily, and we have a better theme sort of color for our image that matches up here. Okay. And then again, we can also just lower our opacity. Grading is one of those things, it's pretty subtle. Like if you look at some of the great images, photographers who grade their images like crazy, like, geez, the only one I can think of is Annie Leibovitz. But all of her stuff is graded very, very subtly to sort of give it a more editorialized, a unique type of feel. So grade an image, use your gradient maps, use outer glow, any of those types of items to get this one done, and just submit an image as a JPEG. And shoot, I will see you on the other side, man, when we start our last unit of portraiture. Holy cow, it's crazy. Okay, have a good weekend. See you later. Again, sorry about the delay. If any of you are still listening at this point, sorry about that.